Right. So I'm super interested in how this ASAP Rocky trial might proceed. I have had conversations with ASAP Relli, formerly ASAP Relli.
Is that
the one who shot? Yeah. And actually the last time I spoke to him, because there's a video of the shooting taking place.
Yeah.
And when I talked to him, he basically said like, yeah, nobody gets to see the video until the trial or whatever.
Okay.
And I said, if you show me, I promise I won't say anything. Did not work. He left me on red on that one.
Damn.
But I mean, this is pretty insane because we are talking about somebody who's not only like a A-lister in hip hop, but also has produced multiple children with Rihanna, one of the biggest stars in the world. So how deep into this are you, and how close are you paying attention to it?
What we just talked about is all I know.
Okay.
And I'm very skeptical of like, is this actually going to happen? Because especially the posture of this case just seems so much different than the Tory Lanez case, that it seems like he's being advised by smarter people. And I wouldn't be surprised if he takes some kind of deal or there's some kind of easy plea deal and it never goes to trial. But it sounds like you know more about it than me if you've actually talked to the victim. And is he not, if he doesn't want there to be any kind of deal and he's willing to testify, I mean, I hope there's a trial just from a journalist standpoint.
I mean, he hasn't indicated to me when I talked to Relli that there's been any attempt to reconcile by Rocky. Because you would think that the first thing that you would want to do after you shoot somebody in the hand or whatever is that you would want to start trying to bring the temperature down and maybe try to soothe things over, at least because that could maybe be a possibility. That was never probably a possibility. Well, actually, you did see Tory Lanez calling Kelsey and basically trying to do just that of like, you know, he was trying to soothe things over so that maybe she wouldn't want to speak to the cops or whatever. But yeah, from my brief conversations with him, it sounds like, you know, this pretty much happened, how that happened, and there hasn't been an attempt by his legal team to. But the newest development is that Rocky's team is suing him for defamation because of what he said, which is kind of hard to imagine because it's not like he was going to be able to get through this trial without defaming him if he is saying he in fact shot a loaded gun at him.
Well, and that's a sign that, there's not going to be any kind of plea deal.
Yeah.
So, that'll be great. It was I think it was scheduled sometime in August, but now it's November 8th, the preliminary hearing, which if that actually goes, that'll be really big. I mean, it happened in Tory Lanez's case and it got a lot of coverage, but that's when they air out all the evidence. Like, we'll probably see the video then because the judge is going to decide like whether there's enough to take it to the jury. So if that actually happens, it'll be a big story and it'll be coming up. But I'm just like, I'm skeptical because stuff always pleads and, everything gets delayed. But
and it just sounds crazy because it's not a rapper that anybody would expect to ever have heard about shooting someone.
Really?
And I mean, he's just not, he's been famous since 2011 and his reputation was never that he was a gangster or anything like that. You've never seen him with a gun. You've never thought that he would shoot somebody at this point in his career, especially when he's, got all this other stuff going on. You always kind of, the relationship with all the other ASAP members has been pretty much strained since the very beginning. But I mean, if I actually get to see a video of ASAP Rocky shooting a gun at somebody, my jaw is probably not going to leave the floor for a few days. I have nothing against him, but I also just kind of hate the idea of celebrities being able to get away with the worst behavior because of the fact that they're celebrities, because so many people are just going to, that's kind of what I got from my conversation with Relli when I talked to him about it, is that he's just of the perspective that Rocky treats everybody in his life like total shit and that they all just deal with it because they're all trying to get something from him. And I don't know. There's a little part of me that's like, okay, he should get what he deserves in this whole thing.
The one person I talked to about this a short while ago who does PR for situations like that was like, I wouldn't be surprised if that settles beforehand. I mean, if you just see the photo blitz that he's on right now, know, young stay-at-home dad kind of thing, doting father, like the photos of him and Rihanna that are coming out, like his PR team or his legal team has to be working on something, but maybe not. And maybe November 8th will happen and there's this preliminary hearing and then there'll be a trial. So yeah, that'd be great. I mean, they always say reporters should vote your job on things, right? So you definitely want there to be a trial. Yeah,
it is kind of weird to be in the media, which we both are to some extent. And there's a little part of your brain that you don't want to really like formally acknowledge that gets kind of happy when a crazy shooting between two famous rappers happens because it's like, well, this is a lot of stuff for us to talk about for the next couple of years. Yeah. And right now it's kind of quiet. I mean, the ASAP Rocky might be the next biggest thing. There's that, Post Malone lawsuit, but civil cases are always just like kind of harder and kind of weirder to cover than criminal cases. Because especially with civil cases, I feel like it's so much the lawyers' personalities involved and lawyers kind of at each other. So criminal cases are really where it's at, but
One big one that's coming up is early next year in federal court, LA federal court. It'll be the Mexican mafia guys who were accused of running the drug run in the jail, the LA County jail. Like Fox Landa Rodriguez is a full-fledged Mexican mafia member who's going on trial. And then there were some younger, like lower ranking, like Sereños who were under him who have been caught up in it. But one of his co-defendants is a lawyer. Actually, he was on trial last year and it was a hung jury, but he's a lawyer for the Mexican mafia and he's accused of like drug possession and like running secret notes between the state prisons and like Supermax in Colorado, because all these Mexican mafia members are locked up and can't have contact with anybody, but they need to make like crucial governing decisions about like who to kill. So they need somebody to like pass messages between the state prisons. And
yeah, I mean, there's one world that I would probably be pretty cautious in discussing on the internet, because that's one thing I've gleaned from having met a lot of gangsters is that there's just a level of fear when it comes to these Mexican gangs that I just don't see it from any other part of public criminal life. Like, people just do not want to talk about them ever.
That's why you don't really hear about it. Like Matthew Ormseth at the LA Times has done a lot of really great, like, it's almost like a Netflix series coverage of it. But these trials will come up maybe once every like few years or so, and it gives like kind of an inside look at it. But they tried just the lawyer last fall, and it was a hung jury. Actually, they almost acquitted him. So they're going to try them all together early next year. But I think things like that go on a lot in LA that don't get a lot of coverage. But yeah, like you said, there's sensitive topics to discuss there.
Right. So the Johnny Depp trial took place in Delaware, right? Where is that it?
It was Virginia.
Virginia, right? Where it is okay, where they can film trials and broadcast on TV and everything like that. LA is not like that. It's not an option for any trial.
It depends on the judge.
Oh,
like
okay.
Because they did have, what was the last one that was it Robert Blake, or there was some media coverage recently, and then like Nipsey Hussle, they didn't allow filming in the courtroom, but they did have cameras in the courtroom for I think the guilt or the sentencing for it. I mean, I remember seeing some photos there. So it just completely depends on the judge. But I think a lot of courts are getting really wary of allowing any kind of streaming just because of the monetization that's going on from it, and just kind of how chaotic.
Oh, that's a good point too. If there's random YouTube channels who are able to make hundreds of thousands of dollars by the end of the trial, it's kind of weird for the incentives of covering this, right?
Yeah. So, and then I think just the logistics of the courthouse too. Like the courthouse isn't very technologically set up for all that stuff. But one thing as a journalist, I just wish we could have laptops in there. I mean, I don't think we need to stream the whole thing. I mean, I can see if we could, that'd be great, but I'd love to be able to take notes on laptops. And that was just totally up to the judge. Like the judge in Danny Masterson's case let reporters who were sitting in the back row use laptops to take notes. And it was just like a night and day difference.
We just hit 600,000 subscribers on the Clips channel right here. We're trying to get to 700, so you know what to do. Smack that red button and subscribe. Appreciate you.